Guys, thanks again for joining me. It's a real honor to have you on. I want to pick your brain on some of your incredible experiences of your career. So we'll get right into it. Won't waste too much of your time. I want to speak to you a lot about, obviously, you are one of the main exports that we have out of our country, one of the few defenders, yourself, Lucas, Mark Fish, that obviously went overseas and did really well. Can you tell us how that all came about, your big move to Greece, and how that all happened?
Yeah, obviously I was playing at Santos in the PSL, and I bumped into Mike McCobb a few times at games like in Durban and things like that. And then he said to me, one day I'm going to do something for you. And then an opportunity arose, like obviously they looked for a defender in Greece. And in the game that we played against Kaizer Chiefs in Johannesburg was sent to Greece. They looked at the video and they were happy with what they saw, and they invited me to come over for a trial. I was there for 2 weeks, I think, 10 days, and then obviously impressed. And then 2 weeks later, they sent a message to Santos saying that they want to buy me immediately. But then they decided to do a loan deal first, and then with an option to buy the next season. And that's how it happened, how I got into Europe.
That's amazing. And your initial reactions when you got there, how did you find the difference in quality? Was it tough to adapt, language, all the rest?
Obviously, with the culture, the language, and those kind of things was kind of difficult and different. But I think, it's a city like also like Cape Town on the coast, that kind of made me feel a little bit at home. And the fact that I had, Mike and Gulam with me, and I wasn't there alone, I was a bit at ease. So all I had to do was just like do what I do best, impress them on training and things like that. And things just got easier after that.
Yeah. And the quality of the actual football, when you compared it to what you were experiencing, obviously in South Africa, was it a big jump?
It wasn't a massive jump, obviously, because the team that I played for, that I went to there for, was a mid-table team. But I mean, there was obviously an increase in the quality and intensity, especially with the training. But I managed to keep up with the intensity, and I think that is obviously one of the main factors, besides the talent and things like that, made the decision by wanting me back there.
Yeah, you obviously embrace it because I mean now I know you speak fluent Greek, and you obviously, I mean, a lot of South African footballers, they struggle to travel, they get homesick when they travel, and they don't necessarily immerse themselves in the culture. How did you go about it that sort of you found it as like almost a second home?
Yeah, look, it is obviously difficult, the first couple of months. I think when I think back, like the first 2 or 3 months when I was there, I was struggling a bit when I was alone, obviously. And I always used to be on the phone with Idris Burton because we had a very close relationship. And, he just used to tell me, like, just bite out that few months. After the third month, maybe things will be a bit different. And I think once I was settled, when I had my own place, a car to move around with, because for the first 2 months I was staying in a hotel. So, it's the same thing over and over. Hotel, food, like, back to training, back home, the same thing. And when I had my own place, things got a bit different, better. I felt more comfortable. And, that's how I settled in. Like, it's not easy at all. But I mean, you as an individual, it's what you want for yourself and out of your career. That's why you need to bite that bullet sometimes, and go through that phases where things are not going well for you, and, just continue working hard, fighting for what you want.
Yeah. And then you made the jump to obviously Panathinaikos, even the biggest club in Greece. Though you're obviously impressed in your first couple months there. How did that move come about?
Well, obviously, with the team Aris, we had obviously not contractual issues. They had money issues, and we obviously discussed with them and say, like, you can give me what you have, and then we give me my papers so I can move. So obviously, my agent was in talks with Olympiacos and Panathinaikos at the same time, and Olympiacos showed some interest, but I think Panathinaikos showed a lot more interest. And, we decided to make the move there. And I mean, I think it was the best move for me because in my first season, we ended up winning the double, the league and the cup. And I mean, the best thing for me was that I was involved in, I think, 90% of the games that season. So it was an honor for me, being a part of that team that kind of made a bit of history, because I think it was 10 years before that when Panathinaikos last won the league title.
Yeah. And then you obviously, once you win the league, you go straight into the Champions League. And then can you tell me about the first time walking out to that Champions League music and who you played against? What was the first experience like of playing in the Champions League?
Okay. My first experience was against United in Old Trafford, but I wasn't on the bench that game. but just
Okay.
the atmosphere alone, like, that feeling, like that excitement, like being there and me being a United supporter, being up against
Yeah.
United.
What
And
year was
also,
that?
like, I think that was 2002, 3, or yeah,
So who was in
2000.
that? Who was in that United?
Um, While my idol was sitting on the bench, Roy Keane, he was still there. I got to swap t-shirts with Quentin Fortune. He still scored in one of the goals in that game. And Ronaldo, obviously, and like Giggs, those players, like they were all there. So it was a massive like experience for me. Even though I was on the bench that game.
And who else was in your group that first year?
It was United, I think, Stuttgart, and Rangers. I think, yeah. I think that was the four
Okay.
teams that was in the group that season. That was the first season I joined Panathinaikos.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what was the level like there? Was it, and the crowds and the stadiums, a massive step up from anything you had experienced previously?
Look, the atmosphere is something similar to Greece. Like the fans, like the atmosphere in the stadium is, and playing in front of a crowd like that. I've experienced that with the national team before, even with the under 20 national team playing away games. My a few games like playing for Aris. So the atmosphere was kind of similar, but obviously like on another level a bit, like because it's European competition. But yeah, like just being there and against United, like and things like that, that's something completely different. Like because now you're in the big boy league.
Yeah. And then you spend a couple of years there. You have a very good time in Greece, and then you end up in Spain after that. Am I correct?
Yeah, there was new owners that took over at Panathinaikos, and they wanted to make some changes and things like that. They told me that I'm free to look for a club. And just before that, we had a Spanish coach that left after he was with us. He left back to Spain and he went to Recreativo Huelva. And apparently he wanted me then already, but the club didn't want to release me then. And when they found out that I was available, they just jumped for opportunity. I didn't even have to go for a trial. I went straight there to do my medical and sign the contract, but on loan for 1 year.
Yeah. And how was that? I mean, obviously then you started to, I mean, week in, week out playing against some of the best footballers in the world. Who were some of the best players you came up against in the Liga?
Yeah. I think our first game was against Real Betis, and we actually surprised everybody by winning away from home that first game. But the likes of like at Seville, like Frederic, like Canute, that was like obviously one of the guys, the stars of Madrid. Like Ronaldo only signed, I think, the second year, the next year when I got there. So Ronaldinho, the normal Messi, Kaká, I still managed to play against Raúl from Real Madrid also. So there's all those top players. Like I managed to end up playing against like week in week out. So that was a massive thing for me because also like for me, I personally believe that La Liga is one of the is I think the top league in Europe or in the world. England, yes, there's a lot of, but it's a lot of foreigners and things like that. So in England, in Spain, like it's a lot of technique, tactically aspects of the game and things like that. So it's you 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 have like a cup final every single game. That's how it is. Like there's no easy games that you can think of and things like that.
Yeah. And going to the new camp and going to the Bernabeu, how was that?
Yeah, no, that was the Bernabeu was like an incredible experience for me because I think for me that's the best stadium I played in. Camp Nou, obviously, I've played in before because of Panathinaikos with the Champions League. So I've had that experience. But, going back there and, having it as a league game, it's totally different as a Champions League. And, I mean, the atmosphere is incredible, seriously incredible.
Yeah, how do you prepare yourself for something like that? Or you just sort of like, as you go, you just sort of like get your way into it? I mean, sure, I can imagine. That's like what Camp Nou's are, like 90,000 people. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
And, like if you're inside the stadium, when you look up, like, you see that small little group of fans, away fans that's sitting on top there that travel with the team, like, And I mean, even like with the Bernabeu, like when you walk out of the tunnel, when you come, you've seen it already on TV. You come down the stairs, you get at the bottom, then there's another set of stairs that goes up. And as you go up, like all you see is like the layers of the stand until you get to the last step. That's when you see like obviously the sky. But now obviously they've changed the stadium, but like incredible.
Yeah.
I think
That's
I've had,
amazing.
there was an experience like the first one experience that I had at at the Bernabeu was in between Barca and Real Madrid. We played Barcelona at home. I traveled home to go to the national team, a midweek game, came to the national team, sat on the bench for 90 minutes, fly back to Spain, arrive in Madrid, meet the team up in Madrid the Friday. Saturday, we're playing in Bernabeu against Real Madrid. In
And
between
who was
two,
who were their front players at that time?
Benzema and Raul. And you
Yeah,
had Kaká also as a 10.
that's insane. Oh man! And for Barca when you went there, who were their main men?
Eto'o obviously was there. Messi, Ronaldinho, all those top players, Iniesta, Xavi, those guys, they were all in that game. We lost, I think, 1-0 at home against them, and then with Real Madrid also, I think 1-0 away. So it wasn't that embarrassing as it was like in the Champions League for me against Barcelona with Panathinaikos. Because the home leg, actually, we did very well. We drew 0-0, went away to Camp Nou. We conceded in the first 30 or 40 seconds of the game. None of our
Yeah,
players touched the ball. They sent it, they passed the ball around. Etu pulled me into the midfield. The ball got played over my head, and Van Bommel went through and 1-1 with the keeper, 1-0 down. And imagine, like, at that stadium against a team like that, you go 1-0 down in under a minute, you dead. And we ended up losing 5-0.
yeah. When you
But I
watch
mean,
when
that's
you watch on
quality,
TV, that pitch looks massive. Is it as big as it seems, or is it even bigger when they've got the ball?
When they got the ball, it's even bigger, and it feels like you're playing
Yeah.
uphill.
Oh man, that's incredible. Yeah. So then, obviously, I want to touch a bit on your Bafana career. Then, obviously, you're playing against some of the best players in the world. You must be one of the few guys that can claim they've played against Messi and Ronaldo, amongst many other great players. The 2010 World Cup. What happened? Why did you miss out? What is the
Um,
story there?
okay. I think it started in 2009, leading up to the Confed Cup. There was obviously games like I just mentioned to you now, where we're playing Barcelona the Sunday. The next Saturday, we're playing Real Madrid. We have a national team game midweek. I fly all the way from Europe to Africa, come here, sit on the bench for 90 minutes, fly back, and then playing 90 minutes against Real Madrid, and also playing before against Barca. So, that kind of got to me a little bit. And then other games after that, they did the same thing because there was a kind of rotation that was happening, but it was only happening with me. So I always had an opportunity to sit on the bench, but there's some other players that never got that opportunity. So they used to play 90 minutes in the national team, but when it comes to club level, they never even featured at the club. So that is something that I couldn't understand. That wasn't fair. Then when I arrived in camp for the Confed Cup, I was supposed to arrive at 9 a.m. the morning with a flight that Safa was supposed to book me. But then I booked my own flight, and I communicated with them to say that, I'm going to go to Cape Town first, drop my bags off because I'm on loan in Spain. I can't leave my things there. Travel with everything, drop it off in Cape Town, take the first flight out of Cape Town to Joburg, and I arrive 8 a.m. in the morning, which is an hour ahead of schedule. Anyway, I make the morning training session. After the training, before lunch, they call me into a meeting. It was obviously the coach, Santana, assistant coach, Jairo Lil, I think, was there. And Aaron Mokoena was also in the meeting. And then it was a couple of questions that they were asking me, like, why did I go to Cape Town first? So I said, I don't know why it's a problem because I'm here ahead of schedule. And then it was, why do you don't want to speak to the press? So I said, well, I don't have to. I'm not on the contract where it states that I have to speak to the press every single day. Then they said, okay, we can make a compromise. Like if other players speaks twice, you can at least speak once. So I said, yeah, no problem. Then the killer question was if I'm going to be upset if I don't start in the first game of the Confed Cup. And I was like, but I can't answer you that because that determined on the preparation, on the training. That is where it all comes down to. You can't make a decision like that now, where we're 2 weeks away from the first game. And then meeting was done, went to training in the afternoon. As I got off the bus after training, I got told I need to come to a meeting again. Came in the meeting. They said to me, they've made a decision that they're going to not include me in this competition. And, that. And I just asked, if that is all. And then they said, yes. I booked the flight immediately and I went back home to Cape Town. So I arrived the morning and I flew out the evening again. The next day when they had to announce the 4 players that got dropped, because obviously the squad had to be 22-man squad and we were 26. And when my name was mentioned, apparently they couldn't give an answer why I was dropped. But then obviously the next day, then stuff got said like I have an aptitude problem and all those things like and whatever. And I kind of just left it. But then when Carlos came back before the World Cup, I tried to get in contact with him. I tried to get a hold of Pizzo. I got a hold of Pizzo. He said to me, phone him. I should phone him the evening at 7:30. I called both his numbers for probably 4 times and he never answered the phone. So I never got that opportunity to speak to Carlos and try to, find a way back into the national team. Because even that season, leading up to the confed, I almost broke a record in La Liga when I got injured at the third last game. So I went out in that game and missed the next game after that because of injury. And if I had to play those 1.5 games, I would have been the only infield player in the whole La Liga that played every single minute of every game in the league.
Oh,
So, I
wow.
mean, I've been constantly available for my club. I've been voted like once or twice player of the month in La Liga, and I get dropped from the national team for the conflict. And some players that was in my place never played at the club, but they were in the national team and playing in the
Yeah.
starting 11. So, but I always put in my mind, like, everything happens for a reason. I believe, like, God had better plans for me. I know it's a disappointing factor that I couldn't be a part of the squad for that specific tournament, but, that is how it is.
Yeah. Do you think that if you and Benny were in that 2010 squad, we would have gotten out of the group?
I wouldn't say that, but I mean, I'm sure we would have made a difference in the team
Yeah.
because I mean, we were regular players in the national team leading up to that Confed Cup and to the World Cup, and things just started changing drastically. Like, so yeah.
Yeah. When you look at our current national team setup, do you think, I mean, I think the coach has done a great job, and it looks like we're definitely going to AFCON, and it looks like we should be qualifying for the World Cup as well. Are you excited about this group of Bafana players?
Yeah, no, I am. And also with the coach, I think if you have to go back with previous interviews that I did when they asked me about the coach, I always said, like, you can't just expect things to happen overnight. It's a process, like, and they've given him that time, and you can see there's success since the time that he started, like, and changing things. And it's a massive difference from before. So that time that they gave him, I think he's done wonders with it. And it's just now to take them all the way. I mean, last AFCON, we got very far. So hopefully this time around we can try and like win it, and then that's good preparation for us trying to qualify for the World Cup as well.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the current state of, obviously these rules changed quite recently with this build up in the box. How do you feel about the way teams are building up from the back? Do you like it? Do you think that that's something that you would have embraced when you were playing this, where the goalkeeper gives a ball to the centre back in the 6-yard box? Are you a fan? Or do you believe that it's the risk is not worth it?
I've always been a type of player that like to play from the back, like, play football, don't kick it long and things like that. And if it does go long, it needs to be a pass or to one of your players. I'm a fan of it, like, but also you need to have the right type of players for that, to play like that. And I think with the players that we have, we kind of have those players, especially the goalkeeper. I mean, Ronwin is very good with his feet. So, that is one big plus for us. And then just the rest of the players also kind of gel into it. And it's been working so far. Like, I mean, there has been once or twice where we've been caught out. Consistency like that will just make it better at the end of the day. And we've got the type of players.
Do you think you would have done better in this generation where there's been more emphasis on building up from the back? In the old school days where you used to go like route one, and I even when we were playing at Cape Town Spurs and you were coaching then already, I mean, when you used to take part in the training sessions, you still used to be like one of the best players. Do you think that the modern game would have suited you even more so now than back then?
Yeah, no, I definitely think so, because like I said to you, I've been that type of player that always likes to play from the back, simple football, like, and things like that. Yeah, so it would have helped there. Definitely, for if I had to be in this era. I sometimes still think about, like, I wish I was like, in my mid-20s where I could like still be active like here, like, But even I think it was last week I was watching some clips of mine from Greece, and it's something that I noticed, which you're mentioning, like now, whenever I had the ball, I haven't seen once where it's a clearance sometimes because you're under pressure. That's different. But when it's playing from the back, I always try to find one of my players and try to play to feet or in the space, like, whatever. And that was just the type of player that I was. That's why, like, it rings a bell, like, now that I mentioned it. I watched it last week and you mentioning it now as well.
Yeah. I was actually listening to Jamie Carragher was actually speaking in an interview recently, and he was talking about how the modern day centre back, because they play such a high line now, they play on the halfway line, they need to have the pace of like a striker to be able to get back. And the fact that they've basically receiving the ball on the half turn all the time from the goalkeeper, you've got to have the ability of like a midfielder. So like the centre back that exists now is not, I mean, you couldn't just be an aggressive, like a big aerial threat without being able to play. Like he's saying that it's one of the most difficult positions to play now in terms of the ability you need to have as a centre back.
Yeah, no, I mean, football has evolved, like, and things like that, and things has changed. Like, so now everybody's a part when you attack, and everybody's part of the team when you defend. I think that's why, if you look at Pep, for example, the type of players that he looks, the centre backs, like, or even fullbacks, it's that type of players where they can play under pressure. I mean, look at Stones. Stones plays as a six at some times because he's comfortable with playing with his back facing to goal or to the opponents, and that is the type of players that you need in modern football today. But not everybody is like that. So some teams just have to manage with what they have, and the best gets the best.
Yeah. Who was your favorite defensive partner when you played for Bafana Bafana?
Well, most of the time I played, I think 90% of the time was with Aaron Mokoena. But obviously I had the opportunity to play with old John Mabizela, which, I mean, like you've rated
Yeah.
him
When
in your previous
when
videos.
old John and you are playing together at the back, we're gonna have no worries building up from the back. Those are two very good players on the ball.
Yeah.
So I wanted to quickly ask you about, obviously, when you saw Rushwin firsthand when he came through, you and Sean obviously played a vital role in his development and bringing him through into the first side at Cape Town Spurs. What have you made of his progress? How far do you think he can go?
I'm very happy, like, with his progress. I think before we left Cape Town Spurs, I still spoke to him and I said to him that I think he's got all the attributes, like, for centre back to play in Europe, and he should just keep on working hard, like, and things like that. And fortunately enough, for now, he got his break and he's playing in one of the top teams in the country. And the best thing for him is he's playing regularly, and he's having good performances. So for me, it's just like he needs to continue with what he's doing, and I'm sure, like, one of these days, like, he will make his break into Europe.
Yeah. How do you make that jump? I mean, how do you've obviously done it, and not many people have managed to do it. How do you make that step from PSL into top clubs in Europe?
I think the main thing is, like, I think we always used to harp on those kind of things, the consistency. Like, once you're consistent and you week in and week out, you're performing, and you're just improving as you go along. That is the main thing, I think, that will kind of open that door for you, because that is what a lot of teams, I think, abroad look at, the consistency, that you can do the same thing at that level week in, week out. Because that is what it's all about. Like, it's no roller coaster. It's about bringing that consistent basis every single game.
Yeah. What do you think he can still work on? I mean, do you think what's still missing from his game that stops him, that is stopping him right now from going to that next level?
What's the game against the Richards Bay that they played?
Yeah, they lost them.
I mean, in all these attributes that he has, it's what a centre back needs. I think just maybe, like, attackingly, like, when he goes up for set pieces, he can score a lot more goals because his physique, like, he's big. He's a big boy. On the ball, he's doing what he's doing well. He was always doing well. Obviously, when he was younger, that was a big problem for him, because that's what I heard. Like, but that improved massively. So that is a good thing. And like you said, like, nowadays with defenders, you need to be able to be on the ball. You need to be good. You need to be defensively strong enough. And that is what he has as well. So I think it's just the consistent basis of doing things and doing that extra by scoring a couple of goals as a defender as well.
Yeah, no, we always used to send him up into the box, but he never was too much of a threat. And I don't know what it is. And I mean, I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I'm not exactly the best header myself. But yeah, I mean, that is one thing I'd say, is that when he does go up for set pieces, he doesn't necessarily look to, like, throw his head into it to get, like, his head on the end of things. Whereas you were a little bit shorter, but you were much more effective with your head.
Throw your body in there. And I mean, I think if I think back, like, now, with the 2 times that he's actually scored for Cape Town Spurs was from set pieces, but free kicks.
With his feet.
Remember? Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. I think even the goal he scored for Bafana Bafana was also with his feet as well. He's not so keen on getting...
it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Coach, just before we go, you are working on something pretty special in Mitchell's Plain. Do you want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's a project that I decided I wanted to start, like, because I know the talent that comes out of Mitchell's Plain, and also I wanted to give back to the community because I come from Mitchell's Plain. So I want to do something where it's development for kids, like, giving them also a safe haven and also a platform, like, where they can showcase the talent. And I want to use this, like, to open doors for these kids, like, give them an opportunity. And also not only locally, but also internationally, because I've spoken to my contacts in Greece, Cyprus. I'm still busy speaking in Spain to try and see how they can assist us if I want to do a tour, by selecting a team here, taking them overseas, and, maybe playing in some friendly games or tournaments, and, giving them that opportunity to also experience what football is like in another country, different cultures, those kind of things, and hopefully get an opportunity for them to be seen there as well. So I've got some good feedback on that side. So now it's just like the process that needs to start like now. Once the facility is up and running, then I will obviously then scout for good players that I would want to put a team together and then try and do these kind of things on a regular basis, take them to different countries and trying to open doors for them, give them that opportunity.
That's amazing. What kind of facilities are you building there?
Well, it's obviously 2 7-a-side Astro courts, which you can convert into 4 5-a-side courts. So in the one 7-a-side court, if you cut it in the middle, it's 2 5s. So that is what I'm basically for now. And also, I need to be a sustainable project, so obviously that will be rented out to the public as well, maybe run leagues and those kind of things. I also want to try and do primary school leagues, which can be run in the courts, and then a clubhouse to put up for change rooms, those kind of things. And then there's 2 full-size grass fields as well, which must be developed still. So that facility, I want to make it like a top-class facility. So the players that's going to be involved there, they should feel like, they're in a professional environment. And that is what I want to prepare them for when they do get the opportunity to go abroad, that they've been in that setup. So when they get on that side, it shouldn't be like a shock or a surprise, or those kind of things.
Yeah. And there's still, is there still an opportunity for corporates to jump on board? This obviously sounds like an amazing project and helping a lot of the youth in Mitchell's Plain. Is there a space for corporate guys to get involved and help with the project?
Yeah, no, there's a lot of space. Even the facility on its own, it's massive. And there's so much advertising space even for companies if they want to do that. And also people to get on board, and try and invest or even just donate towards the project. Obviously, the door will always be open for that because there's so much that can happen and can be done with this project. So it will always be welcome for anybody to try and assist, or be part of the project.
What's the timeline on when do you think the courts will be ready and when can guys start booking courts and getting involved?
Yeah, the timeline was obviously supposed to be for the middle of December now, but obviously because, unforeseen circumstances that arises, the artificial grass that's been ordered from abroad, it's only on shipping now, so it only arrive a bit later. Sorry, so the timeline has been shifted to the end of February. That's for when it will be ready. That's the first phase, which is the Astro Courts. Obviously, a lot of the info will be put on social media, maybe at least a month before the time, because I had the meeting with the people that's running the website and all the social media pages to set up all those kind of things, so to have it ready for a month at least before the time, so teams can start checking on dates, booking, and also for leagues that can be run there, so teams can register and we can have everything set up by then.
Cool. So you'll have an online booking site where you can come on and book the courts and all that sort of thing, all on your website.
Yeah, it will be obviously for the courts, and it will be either for the 5-a-side court or you want to book a 7-a-side court. If you want to have parties, corporate companies that maybe want to have a fun day or so, those kind of things will all be able to be booked online.
Yeah, and the youth in Mitchell's Plain, when can they come show their talents to you so they can get on the first plane into Greece?
Yeah, no, I said, I want to have at least once the Astro and the grass fields are ready, because that's my priority for now. So once that is ready, I think then I'll start, obviously. I think it would be maybe a couple of months from now, and maybe in the middle of 2025. I think that would be ideal time where I would be ready for that, to starting that project.
Okay.
But that obviously
Awesome.
is not going to be just an overnight thing. That,
No.
I need to obviously prepare that team, make sure that they at a level where they can go and compete on that side, because I can't just take any team over and then get embarrassed, because obviously I have a name in Greece, and a reputation. So people are I don't want to be a joke when I come there and the team gets embarrassed. So I need to make sure that team is at the level where they can go there and compete. Doesn't matter whether we win or lose, but the competition they need to show that they are players that is capable of playing in those leagues abroad.
Yeah, you don't want them to come back when they go there. You want everyone to want to sign them up as soon as they get there.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool. Before I let you go, just a couple quick fire questions and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Your favorite teammate during your career?
Favorite teammate? Those are always difficult ones. I think it's always easier because of the time frame that you spend with a player. There's a Cameroonian player, Zoele Palais. We played together at Aris Saloniki, and then we moved together to Panathinaikos. and we spent another couple of years together there as well. We're still in contact. Like he's running a project also in Cameroon at the moment, and also between Cameroon and France. So that is the guy that I've always felt close to me. We've spent a lot of time. We shared a lot of things together, and one of my favorite players.
Yeah, that's awesome. The toughest opponent you faced in the Champions League?
Cool. I'm not going to mention Ronaldo, Messi, those players, but there's one player that I admire and respected back then that gave me a lot of problems was Samuel Eto'o. I think for me, he's one of the best African players that has been playing abroad and, played for the biggest teams in the world as well.
Yeah, what made it so tough to play against him? What was the
It's just
the
like,
pace? Was it
that African flair that he has mixed with the European things because he's been in Europe for a very long time, So that unpredictableness like of a player and, quick off the mark, both feet, good in the air as well. Like, not the tallest of players, but the good with the head as well, So that I think for me was that.
Yeah. The most intimidating stadium you played in?
I would say PAOK Stadium in Greece. For me, I think that was, their fans are the most craziest in Greece. My first official game, I think, in Greece was Aris against PAOK, which is a local derby. And the stuff that I experienced in that stadium was incredible. So we scored first, and the fans started shooting flares to each other, And I mean, I'm standing, and I've never ever experienced this in my entire life before. And I see this. And also, the fans are not allowed to sit too close to each other. So there's gaps open, then there's a row of police, like, and whatever. And then the away fans are sitting on the other side. And, that is the type of atmosphere, like, and in that stadium. So for me, that is the most intimidating stadium that I've played in.
Yeah. That's epic. The best South African defender today, in your view, currently playing?
Well, I've always liked for the last period, I think the last 2 years with Vala from Sundowns.
Yeah, he's very underrated. He doesn't get the credit he deserves, I don't think.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to win the PSL this season?
It's kind of open this year. For me, Pirates looks really good. Sitting at the top of the log. But then also, like, I won't be surprised about Chiefs. Because Chiefs, I've been watching them, and they've struggled a bit, like, but you can see that momentum is slowly getting there, like, and once in the PSL and NFD, once you have that momentum and that consistency of picking up points on a regular basis, those are normally the teams that kind of run away with the league. Sundowns has proven it the last couple of years, but I can see that, there is a lot more competition coming up, like, right now. So I think I would put it between Chiefs and Pirates.
Okay. No Sundowns. Your favorite coach you've played for in your career?
That's a bit tricky because, like I think I spoke to you once before saying, like, I never wanted to become a coach because of the things that I've experienced in my career, But I think if I have to look back, it must have been Victor Munoz, a Spanish coach. Is the one that was coaching me at Panathinaikos and I told you that went to Recreativo Huelva after that, and he wanted me there as well. So, that was one of the coaches, like, at that time that, called you in for one-on-one meetings, showing you videos, showing you how you can improve and what better you can do, like, to improve yourself. So that was one of the biggest things for me. One of the coaches that helped me a lot with that was concerned.
Yeah. Who was your football idol growing up? Who did you try to model your game on?
Funny enough, it wasn't a centre-back. It was Roy Keane from United. Just his attitude, on and off the field, like the leader that he was for the team, that never die attitude, like always wanting to win, and a bit of that craziness, like, but that was my idol growing up. I always admired him.
If you didn't end up becoming a footballer, what would you have been?
I seriously don't know. I was on school. I was at the technical school, which you could either do electrical, motor mechanics, engineering, and one of the other technical drawings, like to become an architect. I went the route of being an electrician. But if you ask me how I got through school or high school with passing, I don't know, because my focus was always wanting to become a pro footballer. And, fortunately enough for me, it ended up for me being that, and I ended up living my dream, I know it's not possible for everybody. That's why I always tell the youngsters, make sure that you sort your education out, try and get a degree in something. So, if things don't work out, you have something to fall back on.
Yeah. Do you remember what you earned your first paycheck in football?
Yeah, my first PSL salary was 500 rand a month. If we won 2 games in a month, my bonus was more than my salary. But you know how it was for us that time. That time it wasn't about the money. You just wanted to be on the field in that starting 11, or at least come off the bench, to play some minutes. That was the thing at that time for us, And as the years went past, obviously became a more professional career, it's like an income for you that you're earning.
Yeah. Okay. Last question to finish it off. I just want to know the best advice you ever received in growing up as a footballer. Is there something that stands out for you from a coach or?
I think the one thing I sometimes use it also, is the mentality that you have, for me, especially in football for me, or even in general in life, winning is not everything. That's the only thing. That's one thing that I've always lived by, that I've heard somewhere along the line, and I've always kept that in my mind, and I've always used it. Winning is not everything. It's the only thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Coach. And I look forward to following the progress of the amazing facility you're building there. And as soon as you open it, please invite me for the launch. I'd love to be there. And,
definitely.
We get everyone involved and show everyone what you're building.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome. Take care.
Cool, man.
Okay, bye.